Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff and welcome to this week's B-17 update. Hello everyone, welcome back to Model Kit Stuff and our B-17 update. It's Sunday. Now, first things first, you can see there has definitely been some progress since we last talked, and we're going to go through all of that. But first things first, this update series is sort of in addition to the build diary. So this is not me sharing my build. I will be doing a proper full build diary showing you me going through the steps that bring this model together, which will be in a few weeks time when we've worked through some other builds. So we've got a build, two builds to finish before you start seeing this, so you're probably a month away from seeing any build videos on this. However, I work on this every other week, so I'm going to do my my B-17 updates every other week, in line with when I know I've definitely got something to share with you. So you will see where I've got to ahead of the build diaries, and then the build diaries will take you through the process at a deeper level. Whereas here I'm just talking about what I've done and anything to watch out for and some questions, and I have another question again this week. So right, let's start off with last week I had a question which was around the stars and bars and the colour, and the consensus appeared to be, and I even spoke to Nigel of Nigel's Modelling Bench and asked him for his view, and it was XF8 with a bit of black, and a number of you said that. There was one or two other suggestions, including paints that didn't need to be changed in terms of their mix to get the right colour. But I ended up coming to the conclusion that I was probably best staying with my ICM colour that is definitely too pale and darkening that myself, rather than buying a jar of paint for a one-off option. So that's what I'm going to do, and I think some of you will be interested to see how we go about doing that and colour matching. So we've got the decals there that we'll colour match to. So that's the plan, but thank you so much for all the people that took the time to answer. Some of you sent me links, some of you sent me suggestions. There was lots of information, and as I said, I was probably going to go with whatever the most common suggestion was. And I know if I buy XF8, I'm never going to use it again, because I'm trying to sort of move away from Tamiya paints, just because I've got too many paint systems on the go, and I prefer good all-round paint systems that you can brush paint as easily as you can airbrush, and that's not the Tamiya ones for me. So personal preference as always. So I'm reducing my paint system, so I don't want to buy yet another bottle that I might not use again, even though I think I did say last week that I would buy Tamiya if I needed to. I've probably got the ability to mix the colour myself with the paints that I've got, and I have a number of Vallejo blues, so even if I can't get the ICM one to work, someone suggested the sea blue, which is slightly the wrong colour because it's the same colour that you'd use for painting the Navy Hellcat, for example. So I'm sure I've got a blue that I can change. So I'm going to go with that option, and that'll just be something different that we've done in the build, because we won't do a lot of paint mixing in here, possibly for the woods, and we'll have a question about that in a minute. So that's where we are with last week's question. We'll come to this week's question in a minute. First, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that popped their head in last week and made comments and hit the like button. I'm absolutely blown away by how many people are interested in getting into the B-17 build. I noticed that Airfix have done a B-17 bundle. That's how popular B-17s are right now. So you can get the ground crew set with it. I think at a reduced price. And also Edward have done a B-17 update set launch and restocked a lot of their stuff for the B-17s. So they clearly know that they're getting plenty of inquiries. So of course that's not on the back of our group build, although it might be slightly. It's more on the back of that program on Apple TV. Anyway, where are we and what are my thoughts about next steps? That's what I want to cover off with you. Now, the first thing I want to say is I said I was going to play with some airbrushes, and the priming of this was done on this, which is the Gallery Advanced GHAD 39. It's not the catchiest title for an airbrush, I've got to say, but I've been having a play with this, and there is a review of this, a tool review of this, coming out tomorrow, and I have been, for a budget price entry-level airbrush, I am deeply impressed with it. Yeah, and I've done all the priming with this, and it was absolutely lovely, and it was really nice and easy to clean. And yeah, so have a look at the review. So if you're one of those modelers who's never airbrushed before, have a look at that tool review. I do have a series on teaching yourself how to airbrush coming along soon. I've started filming some bits and pieces. I actually started filming some while I was doing this, so we used the excuse to be messing around with airbrushes and paints to do some filming for that. So look out for that tomorrow. If you're thinking about airbrushing or sort of on the fence about airbrushing, this is definitely a tool to look at. So have a look at that tomorrow. But I've been really impressed, and these are a fraction of the cost of the big brands, but have a lot of the innovations or even more features than some of the big brands. So I'll talk more about that tomorrow. But just wanted to mention it because those of you that watch Table Talk know that I've been talking about this for a little while. So yeah. Right, so what did we do? Well, we cleaned up all the parts that gets us up to the point where we make the turret for the underside of the fuselage here. So that turret gets mounted into the roof, and I suspect we might be able to fit it. So one of the next things I'm going to do is build up the turrets and have a look at how they all fit in and have a test run of fitting them, so that I can make my mind up to how far the fuselage needs to be built up before we spray paint it all. So it might be that we can put sponge in there and sponge in there and mask this one off, and then we can paint it all. Or it may be that I feel that we've got to put that in which case that's a bit more of a problem, because I always worry that you're going to get paint in the rotating gap and stop it rotating and what have you. So that's why I want to have a play. So that's sort of what's coming next in the build, but actually now we're sort of painted up on the interior or nearly. That's sort of the next stage. I'm currently in the first stage. So the first stage was to do all the interior parts, clean them up, test fit them, get them fitting. Then I've primed everything. Like I said, I've used the airbrush. So everything got primed in Ultimate Primer grey, which I like, and I believe it's Stynylrez. So if you've got Stynylrez or One Shot or Ultimate Primer, they're all the same product in same bottles, different labels. The reason why I like the Ultimate one is I can get these larger bottles, the 120ml bottles, readily, and sometimes you've got to shop around for the other brands and they're a bit difficult to get hold of. So yeah, I don't think there's much difference in price, to be honest, either. But yeah, these are my primers of choice. So we've primed everything in the grey. So why have I primed in grey when we've got some things like most of these here, not that, but most of these here are aluminium. And you would think that I would be doing a black prime for the aluminium. Well, yeah, I mean, the logic is if you've got a shiny black background, when you put a metallic on, it reflects the light better on the little bits of metallic flecks in the paint, and so you get a higher luster. But I don't want that inside of here, because this is exposed aluminium on the inside, and it's going to get sweaty in there, and it's going to get mucky in there, and aluminium, when it's left untreated, goes quite matte. So we're treating the interior differently than we'll do the exterior when we come to put aluminiums on there, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So on the inside, I've gone with grey because I don't particularly want the metallics being vibrant on the inside. I want them muted a little bit. So I can put the grey down, which works brilliantly for all my greens and browns and blacks, and I can use the same thing for my aluminiums, and that means I'll get a more muted aluminium, and that suits me. That's where I want to be. So that's what we did first. Then the first colour that I've put down is black. So I've used Humbrol Enamel 33 for that. And as you can see, that's airbrushed down really nicely. I've managed to get myself a nice sort of uneven finish, which I sort of wanted. I didn't want it to be sort of uniform blank black. It doesn't quite look right. So by putting thin layers on and going in a circular motion, what happens is you overlay in different places, and the thickness of your paint layers is different in different places, and that just gives you a slight depth to the finish, which is what I was looking for. And you can see it, maybe less so here, but you can see it, or I can. It might not show on camera perhaps, that you've got this sort of effect where it's not even, and for me that sort of emulates the fact that there might have been some footfall or stuff like that. Now you could, I've not sealed this in any way, so you could go over it with your finger and make an area of it shiny. So what you do is you rub your finger behind your ear and rub your finger over it, and that just changes the colour. It's a good way of making seats look slightly sat on and stuff like that. So if we do that just between that area there, makes it slightly shiny. You can see that's looking different now, and it looks like people have walked up and down, and we'd probably do it in front of the chairs a little bit as well. There we go. And the reason you rub your finger behind your ear is you get some natural oils and things collecting there, and there you go. That looks really quite effective now, doesn't it? So there you go, we did that on camera for you. So that's the black flooring down. There's lots of interior boxes that have been painted black. This is probably the most complicated part to paint because you've got 3 different colours going on there. So we painted it black in the first instance, and I used a 0.325 needle in this, and without any masking was able to paint the black and then the green later on, although I did mask to put the brown down just to be sure. But one thing I wanted to show you was the steering columns. Now, a lot of people fall into the trap, and this is why it's always good to think through your paint process before you do it. So on the steering columns, we've got 3 colours. They're not finished yet. So at the base there, we've got earth brown, which was actually Humbrol's Matte 29, which is called out in the instructions. Again, enamel. Brush painted in the instance of that, whereas with the bulkheads, we've airbrushed it and got a tremendous finish. Enamels work so well. So but we did the black first, and the black is actually the handles. So you can see there, just putting my finger there so it focuses. We've done that, and the reason why we've done the handles black before we've painted the shafts, you sort of naturally think paint that first because that bit sticks out and then do it. But actually, when you come in to paint the black at the back there, what you've got a risk of doing is getting black onto that shaft. So it's actually better to paint the wheel bit first and the shaft later. Now, you might say, well, you could get paint on the wheel, on the back of the wheel when you paint the shaft. It's possible. It's possible, but it's actually easier to paint that shaft up and down in one move than to go in and paint all the different angles, particularly if you're then brush painting it. And if you mask it off, it's difficult to get to. You're sort of going to have a strip of the wheel that it's going to be difficult to get the atomized paint into. So it's actually easier to paint the wheels first and then paint the shaft in. Trust me, I know from experience. So yeah, that's one thing I wanted to talk about. So we've just got to do the green on here. Now, my choice of green, you can see it better on here, although you can see these seats have been painted in the green as well. My choice of green I'm really happy with, and just as a reminder, I've used the ICM Camouflage Green 1071. Now that went through the airbrush, thinned with water, couldn't be more simple, and then I cleaned the airbrush by putting water through it. It couldn't be more simple. They're such lovely paints to work with, and the atomize really nice, and you only need a small amount and it goes a long way. And we've got this lovely matte green down there. I think it was 3 passes, but I force dried in between, so it was I didn't have to wait and then refill my airbrush. Put the paint in my airbrush, sprayed it down, force dried it by just blowing air on it through the airbrush, and when you could see that it was surface dried, another layer, and we did that and put 3 layers down, and it looks fabulous. And you know, it's upside down. It's going to be that way with the floor pan at the bottom, and there's a little table that goes on there. So that's been done. I'm guessing the earth brown is supposed to emulate some form of lining material, soft material, maybe an insulation. I don't really know, but as the steering column bases were the same colour, that's my guessing. So we've got some detail painting to do, mainly in blacks, and we will do that. What we will do is we'll paint all that up, and then we'll put a little wash on this. So in the cockpit areas, I'll be doing a wash in brown, and then in the fuselage areas where this is all aluminium and we've got aluminium bulkheads, we'll be doing the wash in black. Now, I don't usually do real dark black washes on things other than metallics, engine blocks and things like that, because they help make them stand out. But in this case, it will help with the visibility of the detail. It'll just make the detail pop out. So that's why we'll do that. In the cockpit, we'll use brown because I don't want it to be too stark. You won't see much of it anyway, and the black will darken it down a little bit, whereas the brown will just enhance it a little bit and make the details pop, particularly when we've painted the cushions that we made on here. So we're going to paint them in a bright yellow, and we give them a brown wash, and they'll just look lovely and natural. And then we'll put the decals on them, and they should look really stunning. Now you can see what I've done better now that it's painted in the green, so you can see we've put little creases in. And just a reminder, these were made using green stuff, the 2-part putty that you mix together. I do show you how to do it in the build diary when that comes out, but it's very simple. You just flatten it, cut it to size, and then use the back of a knife to shape it. So yeah, so that's where we are with that. So yeah, it's all come together. I've got aluminium left to paint, wood left to paint, and then the the bombs left to paint. Now they're a different green again, so they will stand out quite nicely on the racks. So we have these aluminium frames which have the bomb racks off, and the bomb racks are in the interior green, and then we have a different contrasting green. Now the end here we have a little well, it's the charge basically, isn't it? And it looks like it has a little whizzy propeller on it. I've looked at some photographs and I've come to the conclusion that they're going to be silver. My natural thought was brass, but actually silver. The detonators appear to be silver of the ones I've seen. But if you know different and you think, well, that's just the dummy ones in museums, then let me know. Although some of the photographs, the period ones are in black and white, they still didn't look brass to me. So I think they should be silver. But in the comments, let me know if you know, not think, know differently. Okay, right. So that's pretty much where I am. So what I've been doing is I've been painting the parts up, and then I put them in this container for safekeeping. You can see they all get put in there in between layers of tissue so that they can't get scuffed. So we do have some detail painting. So this one, for example, we've got to paint the desk in the wood. So when we come to do the wood colours on the floor and various other places, we will do that. And the leg needs to be aluminium. So we've got some detail painting to do. We've got some decals to apply as well. So we've got all the dials and things to go on here. To make up the border dials, and I think there's one or two other parts. I did want to show you, let me just find it. I did want to show you the little console that goes between the steering columns, because we did a little bit of scratch building on that, and I think it's made an improvement to it. So let me see if I can find it. What have we got in there? That's all chairs and radio sets and things. So just get that one out. There it is. So you can see everything's been painted in its base colours. So this is the centre console. Has a decal to go on it, and you can see we filled that and improved the look of it. But the main thing was, in the Airfix kit, this is a solid lump and it looks dreadful. So we just cut it out with a razor saw and leaving the two ends in, and then actually I thinned them down to make them into sticks, and then we put a little bit of plastic rod between the two to make it look more like a handle. Now I know that there's probably multiple uprights on this, and it's probably controls for all 4 engines in here, but I can't emulate that in 172. You possibly could with an etch set, but you're hardly gonna see it. But it just gave me some joy to improve the look of that. So that's what we did. So if you want to do that, it's just a bit of thin plastic rod or a bit of wire, whatever you can find. So yeah. So that's sort of where I am up to with my build. Like I say, the next step is aluminium, then painting the wood. The wood, I'll be mixing paints for that. I did say I wasn't going to be doing any wood graining, and that's probably true on the floor. But some of these tables and bits and pieces are hardly visible, so we're not going to do it on those. But this I might do. And this is the part I've got the question about, because in the Airfix instructions, it suggests you should be painting the table wood and the floor wood, but it doesn't shout out any other colours. So my question is, should this floor also be wood, including the step up, or should this be the black, which is, my understanding is it's an anti-slip mat of some type, or anti-slip coating. So should that be black and that be left wood? Should this step be wood? And the legs, I'm going to guess, should be aluminium or green. And I really don't know, because Airfix are just calling out the one colour. So if you've got any thoughts on that, I mean, I have looked at a couple of pictures in museums and I'm still not clear. So if you know what that should be, and you can help me out with the painting of that, I'd be really appreciated. What are you planning to do with that? You know, those of you that are building the Airfix kit as me, have you come to the same conclusion that maybe that's black and those two bits are wood and the legs are green, or what's your plan? Or if you've already done it, where are you up to? So that's my question for this week. Now, just a reminder, if you guys have got questions on your builds, please put them in the comments here. I will endeavour to answer anything I can, but you've got a whole community of B-17 builders who are all doing research and have different levels of experience that can answer those questions also. So please pop back and look periodically at the comments to see if you can help a fellow modeler out, and if you've got a question and you're unsure of something, do that. But also share your updates. Tell us where you're up to. Have you started yet? Have you got all your aftermarket bits? Have you, you know, are you still waiting for it to be delivered? By all means, let us know where we're up to so everyone can keep appraised of where we are. So every other week we will put a B-17 update out, and as soon as I know for definite when the first build diary is coming out, I will let you know here. But also keep an eye on the Table Talk videos on a Saturday, because we talk about the general plan, and I'm likely to talk about when the B-17 builds are coming out in there also. And I think that probably covers me off. So far, I've had no issues with this build, but what you can see here is the sum total of everything that I have done. So it's just interior parts. So I don't know if we're going to have issues as we start looking at engines and fit of wings and stuff like that, because I simply haven't looked at it yet. But so far, so good. We're going to get all these colours painted down, then we'll go back to step one and we'll start building up the assemblies, and when everything's glued together we can shove it in, and that, like I say, the next stage will be to look at the next lot of sub-assemblies, which will be the turrets, I think, and particularly this turret which mounts in there, and how viable is it for me to mount that in with a bit of CA glue and push it in and it hang there. That's my preference. If I can install that after this is painted, that is definitely my preference. But we will see. We will see where we get to, because I think this floor pan is going to sit sort of there. I think that's how that goes. The narrow floor is in the bomb bay. So that goes somewhere around here, aligned with that hole. So we should be able to put foam in there, but it does make me wonder. I don't think we're going to see any of that, but I was wondering whether I should just paint it black just to be sure, because you might get a glimpse of it through the plastic turret, so I'm not sure, and I'd rather paint it now before we install it. But yeah, so my thought at the moment is that we perhaps paint that bit black, so that it can't be seen through the glazing of the turret, and then we put some sponge in for masking, but I need to be sure that I can fit that okay. So we've got some test fitting to do, and that is where I'm up to. So thanks for looking in. You know, I've had a tough week this week, so doing an update every other week will also give me some time back to sort out some of the videos that I need to repost and remaster. So thanks very much. Enjoy your B-17 builds. Thank you for joining the group build. Keep on building. Keep us updated with what you're doing. And I will be back soon with another update. And I think we're going to have a live stream very, very soon. So we'll kick the build diaries off with a premiere and a live stream is now the plan. Okay, take care everyone, and I will see you soon. Bye for now. Hi, and thanks for watching. You can support the channel by hitting the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please consider the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you don't miss any content that I put out. Model Kit Stuff is a self-funded channel, and I don't do membership or Patreon or buy me a coffee. So if you'd like to further donate to the channel and ensure the cameras keep rolling and the content keeps coming, then you can consider making a donation through my PayPal. You will find a link to that in the text below. You enjoy your modelling, and I'll see you soon.